The Blokebusters podcast is proud to be a member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fantastic podcasts, such as Pencil and Ink Review, Another Damn Trivia Show, and The Language of Bromance at podbros.com, as well as on most other fine podcasting services. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to share and enjoy the Blokebusters podcast.
Welcome to this little film spotlight where we have a guest on and have them talk about a film they like and a film they dislike. Although only being 4 episodes in, that might be a little different this time. And our guest today is B-Rob. So I'll turn you over to him and he can explain who he is and why you should listen to him.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is B-Rob. I am the host of the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast, to where I talk about, you probably guessed it, random things. Everything. It can be from wrestling to, most recently, what's the language rating on this show?
You can say whatever the hell you want.
All right. Dick fishing. We was talking about dick fishing a little while ago. So
okay.
We talk about all kind of things.
Yeah, I think that's the full gambit of conversation topics right there.
Yeah, we was talking about Hulk Hogan and dudes thought we got into dick fishing somehow. I don't even know how that worked per se, but it was a topic of conversation. Yeah,
I'm definitely going to have to play that on my ride to work tomorrow just to find out how the hell you got there. Alright, well, to get this started then, we normally start with the one that you like first, and you did say that there's a little difference, so how about you get to pick the one that you'll do first, but I normally try and guess the genre that it would be in, even though, to be honest, I don't know very much about you, so this is going to be just completely seeing if I hit it randomly. It's just, I'm throwing a dart right now. Let's see. How about, I'm going to guess it's either in the comedy genre or the sci-fi genre.
You are partially correct.
Partially. As I said on the last one, I will take that. Alright, so, go on then. Why don't you let us know what this one is then?
Okay, for the likes or whatever. Whenever you, approach me with, find a movie you like, and automatically I flash to my favorite movies.
Right.
And out of my favorite movies, see, that's a crazy question for me, because anybody that has ever asked me what my favorite movie is, the first thing that immediately pops into my head without, hesitation is the movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
Now that's a comedy.
It is.
I mean, it's not the best movie in the world. And by far, it's not, out of all the movies I've ever seen in my life, it's not like even the number one movie, but automatically, by default, this movie is the first thing that pops up into my head. And I don't know why. Well, I mean, it's a good movie. I like it, but it's not my number one.
No, well, that's fine. I mean, if anyone were to ask me what my number one film is, it would be Shawshank Redemption, which is, that's the thing, it's a fairly standard answer, and as you go on IMDb, it is generally seen as the number one film of all time.
Yep.
But, for this show, I wouldn't pick that, because what I'll typically try and ask is, it be a film that you think maybe some people won't have seen or will have skipped, and then you're trying to kind of be the champion of the film. And I can definitely say I have never seen this film, and I know that it has Dave Chappelle in it, and that is about it as far as knowing what this film is about. So why don't you sell me on this film? Why should I watch it?
Okay, it's a comedy, and basically what it is about a bunch of weed smokers, a whole bunch of potheads.
Right.
And the beginning of the film, it starts off with their various lines of employment, because they all live together in this one apartment.
Right.
One's a school teacher. The main character, Dave Chappelle, he's a janitor. One of the roommates, he worked at a fast food joint, and one worked at a record store, and I think one is a kindergarten teacher. Okay. If I hadn't said that already. And they all live together in this apartment. They smoke hella weed, and they, beginning of the movie, their line of employment, and then the various ways of how they get their weed, via be the delivery service or going to various individuals in the park, and which shady looking in the picture or whatever. So, they kind of shy away from going out to the park and getting their weed and everything. Right. But there's a dealer, well-known dealer, to the effect of rappers sing about him in their songs. And he has this delivery service, and it's like, if you have the money to do so, this is the best way to get your product. You get the best product, and you get it delivered to you. I mean, who would want their drug of choice delivered to them? That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, at the beginning of the movie, they all get together after work. They order up the weed from Samson, which is the kingpin marijuana dealer and drug kingpin of the city. His little henchmen drop off the weed. They all get into their ritual position and everything. They smoking weed. They getting high. They just, do what potheads do. And afterwards, of course, they get the munchies. So they send one of their friends, which is the kindergarten teacher, to the store, and they make this weird list. And then there was like 58 items on the list, and they name every last one of them off in the movie. And it's just like Funyuns, 2 large pizzas, popcorn, chips, and they just naming a whole bunch of stuff. And the last thing they name off is water, because you got to have lots and lots of water. You get cotton mouth when you smoke marijuana. So they send the guy out, and he's baked out of his mind. He's high as hell, and he comes out with all the things that they named off on this list. And you think he wouldn't remember all this stuff because he's high. Marijuana smokers have a short memory, from what I've been told.
Right.
What were we talking about again?
Not sure, actually. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you go outside, and there's a horse, a police horse. And you're talking to the horse and everything. The horse ain't talking back, but he start feeding the horse the food that he just bought. He start feeding him popcorn. He feed the horse pizza. Everything that he went there and bought, he fed everything to the horse. And then the horse just keels over and dies right there on the spot. And then the cop come up and everything. He's like, "What did you do?" He's like, "I just fed him some popcorn and some marshmallows and all kind of shit like that." He's like, "The horse is diabetic." And the horse went to like a sugar coma and shit and died.
Of course it did. That makes perfect sense.
So they take him to jail. They brand him as a cop killer and everything. Right. And his roommates got to bail him out of jail, because when he went in, he was fresh fish. And they had this guy named Nasty Nate, who's notorious for his undercarriage there and raping the fish. Mm-hmm. So he had X amount of days before Nasty Nate was going to come get him, because the guy that was protecting him in prison was getting paroled early. So he only had a few days before he got paroled. Then he wouldn't have protection anymore. So they had to come up with $1 million to bail him out of jail. And so what they did was start selling weed.
Of course, yes. Naturally, that's where you would go. I suppose for weed smokers, trying to sell it makes a bit
exactly.
more sense.
And then, after that point when they decide to sell weed to get their friend out of jail, they just go through all the different woes and perils of, trying to get a supplier, a way to acquire the weed, and 2, not spend the profits that they make from, selling the weed, getting clientele and all kind of stuff like that. So the movie kind of tracks through all that. And, it's just a crazy, crazy, crazy movie.
It sounds it. Yeah. All right. Well, being a Dave Chappelle film, I'm sure that there's a fair amount of kind of mugging it up, as it were.
Oh yeah. Because that was one of the first films that I seen Dave Chappelle, starring in. He's one of my favorite comedians. I kind of get some of my mannerisms from him.
Right.
And it was I just love the movie. I can't say nothing else about it. It's one of my favorite movies. It's the first one that pops into my head when somebody say, what's your favorite movie? But it's not like my number one movie. It's just the default answer.
Right, yeah. And I can understand it because you've got the film that you appreciate and like the most, but then which one is the most entertaining for you, I suppose. I would imagine that's kind of how you feel about it.
Yes.
So, you've kind of just explained it, but like, what specifically about the film kind of speak to you? Is there a tone in the film that you felt like, yeah, this film gets me, or something like that?
Yeah, well, at the time when the movie came out, when I first initially saw it, I was younger. This was before I joined the military and everything, and I was a kid, and those guys were kind of like me and my friends. We hung out, we smoked a whole bunch of weed, we ate up all the snacks in the kitchen and all kind of shit like that. So, I mean, it kind of spoke to me in that aspect of it because, hey, those guys are just like me. I said, we all silly, we all had different jobs at the time, and it's simpler times. That's kind of what it spoke to me with this film. And it was, seeing one of my favorite actors grow from that one film all the way up into when he started hosting his own show on Comedy Central, to where he was making $50 million, for a season and all kind of stuff. So It was just to see that actor grow as a character from when he was doing stand up for 10 minutes at a time on these different shows to getting bigger stand up venues. Then the movie came, and then he started getting bit roles in these bigger movies. And, it's like, seeing one of your friends that made it, that you've been middle school, and you've seen them play sports all the way up through college and everything, and to see your friend get drafted into like the NFL or something, it was just like the metamorphosis. It was amazing to me.
Well, cool, yeah. It's a very deep answer about the film Half-Baked there.
And it's not a deep movie. It's just people running around smoking weed and acting stupid.
Sounds like it. So, my next question then is there a favorite scene or moment in the film? Like, I guess given that it's a comedy, is there a moment in the film that always makes you laugh without fail?
It's many scenes from that movie. I mean, I probably can't do it as well anymore, but it was a point in time to where I can recite that movie line per line from beginning to end, from the opening credits to the closing credits.
Right.
But, it's just little tidbits here and there. Like in the beginning when he's narrating it pretty much.
Right.
And, they show him at his job. He's a janitor or whatever. So you see him mopping the floor and everything and whatever. He's like, and that's me. I'm a master of the custodial arts, or a janitor if you want to be a dick about it. And then he worked in this, the place that he was doing the janitorial services at, it was, a pharmaceutical plant or whatever.
Right.
So he was in there mopping around, and I think, he was in the research lab just, mopping the floor. And one of the scientists came to him. He was like, janitor. And he was like, yes, scientist. And he's like, I need you to do something for me. I'm kind of busy here. I want you to take this, prescription here to the, pharmacy and, bring it back to me so I can do this experiment. He's like, all right, cool, great. So guy writing him a prescription. He take it to the pharmacy. And, as he goes there, he's, smelling around. He's like, man, somebody's having a party in here, or they didn't do their shirt laundry, referring to somebody else might have been around there smoking weed.
Right.
So when you get to the prescription counter, you give the lady the script. She go in the back. She come back with a pound of weed. And he's like, oh, and, he's flipping out, cause like this was the point of the movie to where they was trying to figure out how to, get solid distribution, a supplier so they could sell weed.
Yeah.
And all along he was working at this place that had this weed. So he got the marijuana. He bring it back to the scientist, and it was just like a little funny back and forth there to where he was handing it over.
Yeah.
but not really handing it over. So like the scientist, like he gave it to him. The scientist tried to take it from him and he started like trying to jerk it back from him and everything. So it was like struggling over it. And then, after that, he's like, man, I didn't know you got down like this, scientist. I mean, we could have been hanging out months ago, having a party or something like that. He's like, and then the scientist went into like, no, we just, experimented on it for his medicinal purposes, blah, 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 whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. And then when he was leaving, he, busted open the package and he pulled like a whole hunk of this brick of marijuana off and he gave it to him. And he started stuffing it in his pockets. And as the scientist is talking to him, he's still pulling strands of marijuana out of the packaging and putting it in his pocket as he's talking to the scientist.
Yeah, I think I did ask the wrong question then, because obviously if you're able to quote the film from beginning to end.
This is like, that's one of the ones that stick out to me. And I can just keep going. I can just pick this film apart, man.
Yeah, well, I think in the interest of time, we'll ask you not to do that on this occasion.
Okay.
And I'm assuming there was no sequel to this film.
No, because I mean, all the actors in that movie went their own way. Some tried to stay in stand-up comedy, didn't do so well.
Right.
But Chappelle, he went in, like I said, he got picked up by Comedy Central, and his show blew up. And some of those guys that was in Half Baked with him appeared on the Chappelle show. I mean, it wasn't recurring roles, but they had like little cameos here and there or whatever, which was pretty cool to see. And anytime I see those characters, anywhere else, like, one of the guys that played in there, have you ever seen the TV show Scandal?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Where there's, a character on there called Huck, and he, works for, the main character or whatever, and he was one of the actors in Half Baked. And it's funny seeing him in that role on Scandal because he is a serious character. I mean, He murders people pretty much, but all I can see when I see his face, I remember him from Half Baked, this goofy character smoking marijuana and all kind of stuff like that. So I can't see that character in it as a serious one as he's portraying on TV.
Yeah, I understand that. I kind of had a similar thing when I started watching Breaking Bad.
Oh.
And it was Malcolm's dad. It wasn't Walter White for the longest time. And then I think at some point it just kind of clicked for me. But, I can fully appreciate that.
And see now, and it's the opposite with me, because I mean, I'm aware he was on Malcolm in the Middle, but now every time I see him, he is Walter White to me.
Yeah, now, especially I've seen Trumbo more recently than I stopped watching Breaking Bad. And yeah, he's becoming one of those actors that when I see he's in it, I'm probably gonna watch it.
Yes.
Because he's been doing really well since then.
Well shit, he's gonna be in the new Power Rangers movie. He's gonna be Zordon.
I did not know that, but now I'm more likely to watch the Power Rangers.
Exactly, me too.
Well, I think to try and bring it back here, so obviously there is no sequel to this, but have you ever thought, like, had they made a sequel, like, what would they have done? Or do you think this is one of those films that, like, just leave it as one, like, and don't touch it again?
Yeah, it would have been a reach if they tried to do a sequel. I'm pretty sure they could think of a way to do it. I'm thinking of some, as you say that now, because I never really thought of it, having a sequel, but I'm kind of pulling things together in my mind of how they could pull it off, which, I mean, I think they could do it, but the way they constructed this film and everything, I don't think a sequel would do it good. I mean, I have fond memories of just the one movie. I mean, usually sequels aren't that good, and I wouldn't want to damage anything, with this film.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it, especially since I imagine this was a 90s film.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, you don't want to do a sequel to a 90s film almost 20 years later.
Yeah, you sure don't.
Yeah, I think unless you have some fantastic writers and people that are willing to go along with it,
shit, or some amazing makeup artists, because then people probably don't look the same no more.
No, yeah, it would have to be the only thing I can think of whenever I think of something where this much time has gone by. Maybe they're now parents and it's their kids And like having to, maybe they're sneaking around their kids still trying to do what or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, cause it does, it could play into something like that because at the end of the movie, he, gives up weed cause, you know, he wanted to be with this girl who was against weed.
Right.
So he kind of put the drugs down and, you know, you can, go into a sequel to where, you know, now they have kids together and their kids are smoking weed or whatever and they're trying to tell them not to do it and all kind of stuff like that.
All right. Well, that could be interesting. That's fair. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be one of those films that I will end up watching just because of, that I wouldn't be able to connect with it personally, but, maybe I'll give it a chance because I do think Dave Chappelle is a very funny guy, and I'm assuming he wrote the film.
Yes,
okay.
yes, him and one of the other guys in the movie, they wrote it together.
Okay, all right, maybe I'll put it on one day and at least give it a chance. All right, okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, thanks for bringing that one up. I honestly had forgotten all about it because I never gave it a chance. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, at this point, we normally shift over to the one you don't like so much. But yes, I hear from what you were saying that it might be a little different this time. So why don't you explain what it is that you're doing?
Okay, all right. See, when giving you a favorite movie, I mean, I can do that. I mean, there's many I can pull from, but I chose to go with my default for whatever reason. That's my default.
No, that's fine.
And, with the movies I hate, that's the thing. I don't really hate movies, you know?
No,
I mean, it's certain things in movies that I dislike, but I don't think I've ever really disliked a movie as a whole. But what I can do for you is give you a movie that I was disappointed in.
Equally as good, I think.
Okay, I mean, and this is an older movie too. I don't know if you're going to remember it or not, or if anybody else will, but I mean, you kind of asked for that, right?
No, yeah, and one of the reasons we like to do this idea is getting films out there that people might not have heard of and talking about them, because I always find that fun myself, so.
All right. This movie came out in 1996. I think Half Baked came out in 98. So this came out before Half Baked.
Okay.
MTV back in the day when they was kind of venturing into, you know, more TV shows and music videos and shit.
Yeah.
They had, skits on MTV that would play. I think it was MTV anyway. To where there was this apartment that was overrun by, roaches. And the roaches be getting into all kind of different situations. It's almost like skits and everything.
I think I know which film you're about to say.
Go ahead. Hit me with your guess.
It wouldn't be Joe's Apartment by any chance, would it?
Exactly. That's the exact movie I'm going to bring up to you. Now, I thought those skits were hilarious. I thought it was funny as hell. And when they said that, hey, we're going to make a Joe's Apartment movie, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be great. I mean, those skits were funny as hell. I mean, they were only like, I don't even think they were no more than 10 minutes or anything like that. So, I mean, you can make a lot of funny in 10 minutes, I guess, but to make a full length movie, I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. So me and my nephew, we got some money to go see it.
Right.
And when I went to the theater, you know, it was, you know, big lines and everything. I mean, it was a line outside the building. I was like, wow. I said, this movie is going to be great. But when I got to the ticket counter, I got my tickets. We went in. Nobody was in the theater. It was just me and my nephew in the theater to see Joe's Apartment. We were the only two in the theater.
Okay. And
I was like, well, I mean, are we the only two that like this film or thought this was going to be funny? But I couldn't understand it. And I mean, I watched it, but I didn't really fully watch it. I didn't really watch the whole movie until, you know, later on. Right. But there in the theater, I was just like, wow, this really sucks. you know, because I mean, literally, I mean, I'm not exaggerating at all. There was no one in there at all. And this is not like, all right, it's been in the theaters for a couple weeks. No, this was like premiere weekend.
Right.
And there was nobody in the goddamn theater to see this movie. So, I mean, me and him, I mean, I was younger, so me and my nephew was just running up and down the aisles, throwing popcorn at each other, and just, you know, being stupid because we had the whole theater to ourselves pretty much. And, you know, I mean, it was just like, I didn't think it was going to be anything like that. I mean, that's a part of going to the theater to see movies or whatever. One, to see the movie, and two, I mean, because of the atmosphere, because, you know, that's how you get people's live reaction. I mean, it's not like, now to where you can just go on the Twitter and be like, oh, this is what this person thought about this, this is what this person thought about this. I mean, you're in the theater with the person. If you're in there watching a scary movie, you can see which one, you can hear which ones are scared because you hear them, jumping around and all kind of crazy shit. Or if you know a joke is funny when the whole audience is laughing. We didn't have that. We just had us running around being dumbasses throwing popcorn and soda at each other in the theater.
Oh dear. I mean, yeah, I can think I've only had one experience like that myself, and it was when me and a friend went to go and see Bicentennial Man. And we were the only two people there. And there were a couple of times where we just kind of got up and changed seats just because we could. We were just like, oh, we're going to go over there for now. But at least we enjoyed that film. It seemed like, obviously you brought up you were disappointed with this one. So, and I do think Dave Chappelle was actually one of the people that did voices for it, if I'm remembering correctly. I know it was.
I don't know. He probably did. I don't see you're pulling up things to make me look into my Dave Chappelle bag.
Well, it's just I remember I saw this for the first time about 10 years ago, and I've seen it maybe once or twice since then. And the last time I watched it was, you know, once I was really getting into films and also voice actors, because I liked a lot of cartoons and stuff and was looking into that. And I know that Billy West, who is the voice of Fry and the Professor and Zoidberg and Zach Brannigan in Futurama, he's the lead cockroach in it.
Yep, yep. I'm looking at it right now.
And yeah, it was, I enjoyed seeing it, especially if you listen to Billy West talk. I think this role was the furthest he got away from his natural voice while he was doing it. And it's weird to think that I kind of just enjoyed it for just a weird film that it was. But, I'm interested to actually go into what was it about this film then that disappointed you specifically? Like, what is your problem with it?
Well, the one thing obviously was, you know, the poor presentation, not the presentation of the movie, but just, you know, the atmosphere surrounded it. I mean, nobody came to see this film. I mean, nobody gave a shit enough about it to be like, here's a couple bucks so I can see this movie. Because I mean, movies were cheaper back then, but yeah. And then it was like, it had a story, but you know, it was like, it was jumping back and forth from what I can remember from it, because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And it was just like, I can remember there being like a main story, and then they still kind of stuck to the MTV type deal where it was like skits in between and stuff like that. So it kind of threw me off. I thought it was just like the Roaches was going to be, you know, doing other things. And it's weird to say that, the Roaches doing things.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's based off of a skit on TV where it's just the cockroaches doing stuff, then I can understand why you would expect that from the film.
Yeah, so I paid money to see roaches do things, and it was like more focused on the human characters and everything, from what I can remember. And then they pop in with a couple of little skits, and it was almost like a musical because they did a lot of singing in there from what I can remember. So roaches singing. Yeah,
they did. I remember I had the opening song in my head for a long time, and I can still remember some of it. Was it, welcome to Joe's apartment, it's our apartment too. We've been around for 100 million years and we'll be here long after you.
Oh, that's great, man. The only thing, like, now hearing you do it is like, it brings it back a little bit to me or whatever. But the only thing I really remembered about it was the end of it. It's like, and this is Joe's apartment, our home.
Yeah, it was, one of those, I think I enjoyed it because it was just so out there. It's like, I'd never heard of the original skit. So in fact, I didn't know there was any until you just mentioned it. So it's so weird that I would enjoy it as its own thing because it's just so weird and out there. And you didn't enjoy it because it was based on something and was a bad adaptation of that.
Yeah. It's like some of those, MacGruber on Saturday Night Live. That was a skit or whatever that they tried to make into a movie, and the movie wasn't really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Based on what I've heard, yes, that was not done well.
Not so much. And then, what I pulled away from that movie, MacGruber, to jump over a little bit is like, the only reason I kinda liked it was because they had professional wrestlers in it, and I love professional wrestling. So they had a couple of actors, and they was in there as actors or whatever. So, that's pretty much why I watched it.
Yeah, that also seemed to be a bit of a staple of, was it the 90s films and maybe 80s as well. Like definitely in, say, Ace Ventura and stuff like that, where they would have professional athletes or stuff like that, and they would just be in these films.
Who's that, in Ace Ventura? It was Dan Marino, wasn't it?
It is Dan Marino, yes. and he's playing himself. It's just like,
that's the best role you can get, to get money to play you.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that it's like, they didn't need to actually have Dan Marino in it. They could have had someone to play a fictitious thing, but for whatever reason they were like, no, let's get Dan Marino. That'll work.
And I think it had a lot to do with, I think at that time, Jim Carrey was like one of the hottest things smoking or whatever. So they wanted to put, a lot of things around him to make it good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just seemed that was the way Hollywood worked back then. It was, it doesn't matter who's in the film. We also want to have one person so we can draw other people in just as well.
Exactly. And then, cause like now, the difference between movies then and now is, the money. And from like, all right, you can remember back if you've seen E.T. or whatever.
Yeah.
Look at all the things they had in that movie. They had Reese's peanut butter cups. They had, they had the actual cereals, and I don't remember the names of them, but it was like name brand cereals, just like right there. They had Pepsi in the movie and everything like that. Just products everywhere. Now, you even flash the freaking Apple logo on the back of your laptop in the movie without Apple's permission, you getting fined. Back then, it was just like, whatever, it's a product in the movie. It's something that you would find in a house. So, it's not uncommon for it to be shown. But now it's all about the money and all kind of other bullshit like that.
Yeah, well, and you did kind of have some films where there were product placement deals. Like, for instance, Back to the Future, Pepsi had a huge thing. So that was always in there. And I think Mattel as well, they had a thing with Mattel. So Mattel was the one that made the hoverboard in the second one. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely seems now that you get a whole lot of that. And I think, I know it's totally off topic here, but Wayne's World did it perfectly. What they're saying, we will not bow to any sponsor. And it's just all of these, the Nuprin pills and the Pizza Hut boxes and all that.
Yeah, that was great. It's fun when it's done like that, but now is it's a money thing, man. You got to pay if you want those products in there, and it's cool when you get sponsors. Because I watch a TV show called Grimm.
Yeah, my wife is a big fan of Grimm.
Yeah. And you can tell they is, sponsored by Apple because everybody has an Apple phone in that TV show.
Yeah.
And like from season 1 all the way up until now, everybody has a freaking iPhone or something like that.
Yeah. And there are a couple of times where I know some shows, they can just linger just a little too long on the product that they're using. It's like, okay, we get it. Yes, you have, your production company had a bit of a deal going with this thing.
Yeah. And I'm all for that because, I mean, it helps to make the film or TV show or whatever it is better. But, I mean, I like more of those films to where they, they make up their own products or whatever. It's like, my kids will watch, iCarly or something. Instead of Apple iPhone, they have a Pear phone on their TV shows. Or something like that. I think that's pretty clever.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Alright, so to try and get this train back on the rails here, let's assume that you have the power to go back in time and rewrite the script or anything like that. How would you go about fixing this film so that you were not disappointed in it and you actually wanted to go see it?
Oh boy, you have thrown the curviest of curveballs at me just now. Shit. I mean, what could you do? I mean,
well, obviously,
probably anything other than what they did. So.
Yes. You personally, you went to see it thinking it would be a whole bunch of stuff about the cockroaches. So maybe you'd want to see it where you do see it entirely from the cockroaches' point of view, and for them, the humans just keep bursting in and interrupting them. So
yeah, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, I would think it'd be more focused on them. I mean, it can have some human elements, but I don't know if you've seen it. It was an older show when I was young. I don't know how. I'm not going to get into your age or whatever, but it's Fraggle Rock.
That is one of those shows I am well aware of, but I have never actually watched.
Well, Fraggle Rock is, I remember it was a cartoon and it was a puppet series. They use, puppets to do it. I seen the puppet series first, but the premise of the show is, there's an old man and his dog. They live in this house, and inside the walls of this house is a Fraggle Rock. This is where all the Fraggles live. They live pretty much in the walls and under his house and everything. And this is where they live, and they focus on those characters. And every now and then, I forget what they called, the outside world, like the guy's house or in the yard or whatever. I think they would call it, the Great Beyond or whatever it is. Right. Every now and then they find themselves on the outside or in this dude's house, and the dog would always see these things, and he would try to warn the old man about them or try to make him look, and, the old man would think the dog is crazy or, he would shoo him off. But more or less, it was about the Fraggles. It was about them, and, they'll have a touch of human elements and everything or some kind of interaction with the outside world every now and then. So that's kind of what I would probably want it with Joe's Apartment.
Right. So. Okay, so a Fraggle Rock version of Joe's Apartment. That could be interesting.
And they did a lot of singing in there too, so I mean, hey, there it is. It works out.
Alright. Well, obviously, as I said at the beginning, I actually kind of enjoyed this film, so I can't say I would agree, but I would definitely watch that one. I would give it a chance and see what came of it.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't hate it. I was just disappointed in, everything surrounding it.
Yeah, perfectly understandable now that I know what the actual origins are. I can see why people wouldn't have enjoyed it much. Cool. Well, this has definitely been a lot of fun, and I could say I haven't thought about Joe's Apartment in a couple of years, so thank you for bringing that back up.
Boom. You're welcome.
Yeah, I gotta see if I can find that again now.
Yeah, I know, because, sitting here talking about these older movies or whatever, because I tried to see if I had Half-Baked anywhere on digital or one of my hard drives or anything like that so I can watch it, and I couldn't find it. But I haven't thought about, to be honest with you, I haven't thought about Joe's Apartment until probably a couple minutes before I came on the show with you, because I was just going to explain it to the fact to where, I don't really dislike movies.
Right.
I just, there's certain things that's, I don't like about the movie, but movies as a whole, I'm not really disappointed in them. It's kind of like podcasts or whatever. There's so many podcasts and there's so many different people that, do podcasts or whatever. And I'm not going to tell anybody that their podcast is bad because it's their podcast. It's their vision of what they want it to be. And they're doing what they want to do with it. And there's an audience for every podcast. That's why there's so many of them. Everybody thinks differently, and you're bound to corral a couple people that think the same way that you do. So, I mean, nope, I don't think any podcast is a freaking failure. The only failed podcast is the podcast that is not continued, the one that's not kept up and one that's not being continually done. I mean, so if you're going to put one out every Saturday, you need to put one out every Saturday.
Yes, and that is why we don't have a definitive schedule, because we never know what's going to come up. But,
exactly, and that's why I'm recording 3 or 4 episodes in a day, so I can have something just in case, I lose something or I can't get to a recorder in time.
Yeah, and I can say that one of the reasons that I'm really enjoying this series and really want to keep doing it as much as possible is because my wife is pregnant, and come October, I'm not going to have as much free time as I used to, so it'll be very nice to have some of these.
Man, congratulations, dude.
Yes, thank you. And
kiss your freedom goodbye.
Yes, that's one of the other reasons why we kind of shifted into doing one Netflix film a month and then one new release, was because I knew that down the line I wouldn't be able to be going to the cinema every 2 weeks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's cool, man. But man, congratulations, dude.
Well,
kids are wonderful.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure they are, and I'll get to see firsthand how wonderful and frustrating and all of that it will be.
This is what you do if you ain't got time to podcast because of the kid. Bring the kid on the podcast.
I'll try, but I'm not sure a 4-month-old is going to have much to say about the world of cinema. But you know what? Maybe one time I will try that and just see how it goes.
Yeah, you have your own little personal soundboard. You can have a whole bunch of fart noises, some giggles. There you go.
All right. So, thank you very much for coming on, and why don't you let everyone know where they can get a hold of you?
All right, and I appreciate you for having me on, man.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. It'd be great to have you on the regular podcast at some point.
All right, we'll work it out one day. But anyway, this is your boy B-Rob, and I am the host of the Random Ramblings with Rob podcast, as I stated beforehand. Mm-hmm. And you can find me on Twitter at It's B-Rob. That's ITSBROB. My show also has a Twitter account. You can follow that at, get ready for it, RRR_podcast. That's 3 R's _podcast. I have a website. You can go to that at randomrobcast.com. You can find all my social media accounts. You just scroll down to the bottom, press the social tab, and all my social media accounts will come up. Look at my Instagram. You can search Random Ramblings with Rob on Instagram, and you can find my Walmart logs. I go to Walmart just about every day, and I film a stupid little video in Walmart, so you can see me act a fool in Walmart.
What a random thing. Yes, that's kind of.
I love Walmart. I can't help it. And that's where I get most of my movies from, because it's got so much low prices.
I fully understand. We are a Walmart family ourselves, just because that always seems to be the cheapest when we go there.
Yep. This brought to you by Walmart.
Shop smarter. Well, thank you for coming on, and as usual, you can find us at Blokebusters. We're Blokebusters everywhere. Just go looking for us, you'll find us. So, thank you very much, folks.